Hey guys, what's up? I'm going to let you in on bets that I think you can make money with on UFC 213 and TUF 25 finale, and bets you can make between the two cards, which is something I did. But please bet responsibly, bet at your own risk. This is only my second time betting, and the last event. The UFC OKC fight night card. Did a 3-fight parlay, got 2 of the 3 fights right. I thought that was a lock. It's going to be a good payout and everything. Got it wrong, so I never try to assert that I can make picks 100% of the time, correct picks, but I'm trying to give it a shot, and I believe that there are some very heavy favorites on these cards, and at least at the odds that I was able to lock them in at, I think there's definitely a little bit of money to be made. Of course, contingent upon how much you're willing to risk, but yeah, I think there's some really heavy favorites, some sure bets to be made here. So let's just get into it. I am on CapperTech and Bet MMA Tips, and you can see my bets for those cards here, although not all of my bets, because I made a lot of parlays with common fighters between them. And CapperTech would not let me post parlays using common fighters. So, or I guess you can, because I do have parlays with the same fighters in there, but they said I was hedging my parlays, or whatever. I'm just kind of fed up with that site. I don't know if going forward, if I'm going to be using that site. I think, you could very easily, with a lot less effort, just keep an Excel file and, track your picks that way. And, there's no increased authenticity using one of those sites. You can go on there and post all your picks, and, you can never bet $1 on any of those fights. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm betting money on these fights, and that's my whole intention of doing this, is trying to prove that I can actually make good picks over time and be profitable over time, and for the site to just have those restrictions on when I'm just trying to be completely transparent, it's frustrating. So not happy with CapperTech. My picks in one form or another, even if they're not using the same lines that I locked them in at, I will have my picks posted to CapperTech, as well as Bet MMA Tips, or MMA Bet Tips. But yeah, I couldn't. I don't want to waste time making posting all of my parlays or it wouldn't even let me, like I just explained, because of the hedge thing. But anyway, I want to get that out of the way. But okay, first I just want to go over a couple of fights that I think you should stay away from. I'm not going to go over every fight because I don't want this to be too long, but let me just name off a few here. So Gaethje Johnson, the main event. I did not place a bet on this. And if you go to my CapperTech profile, you'll see I made a lot of parlays, especially for UFC 213. A lot of parlays where I anchored like one fight that I'm not as confident in, with a couple of other fights I'm very confident in. And that's something normally I wouldn't advise, wouldn't do. But I didn't bet a big portion of my balance on those picks, and I'm just feeling like a betting man. You know, it's the biggest card of the year, and it's in Vegas, so I wanted to let loose a little bit. But here, I'm just going to try to give you what I truly believe are the picks most likely to earn you money with the least amount of risk. So Gaethje Johnson, I would stay away from this one. Kind of a weird matchup. Johnson should have the technical edge, but Gaethje, very durable, a brawler. The longer the fight goes, the more it swings in Gaethje's favor. I don't like Johnson's chances to win a decision, so weird fight. I'm staying away from it. What else? Lima and Taylor. When I watched TUF last night, I saw Taylor, to my surprise, take out James Krause. I was going to get on here and with conviction, say bet the house on Lima because he's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's got subs, and we've seen that on TUF. And Taylor being exclusively a wrestler, I think is going to eventually and actually quickly, by putting Lima on his back, just going to end up right in Lima's wheelhouse, and Lima's going to take one of those arms home. That's still my pick. But Taylor, you can't count out hard, especially with these tough guys. Like Chiesa, I thought I didn't think he was going to beat Iaquinta that season. Similar kind of thing, a strongman grappler against the flashier guy with more power and danger in his hands. But these guys that really got something to fight for, and there's nothing more redemptive than blowing your opportunity in life 10 years ago and fighting for 10 years to get it back, and then having that second chance. There's nothing more redeeming and motivating than that. So you can't count out heart, and just for that reason, I can't bet on Lima, but he will be my pick by sub. All right. Anything else? I think Galloway, Herman, two old guys, bad chins, never know what's going to happen. Stay away from that. Okay, so then on 213, Nunes Shevchenko, as you can see, on all the sites, the odds are almost dead even. And yeah, I did not bet on this one. Although I picked Shevchenko in my video, kind of leaning Nunes now. I just think she's got so much firepower in those first couple of rounds. She almost got Shevchenko out of there the first time, and I think Nunes or people are just kind of counting Nunes out and counting on her fading, which was my pick. But I might actually change my pick to Nunes. But still, if it gets into those later rounds, we've never seen Nunes go championship rounds, and being a known fader. It's hard to take her, so I would stay away from that one. Whitaker Romero, I did make some parlays with Whitaker, anchoring him on my confident picks, but that's a tough fight. And the more I think about it, the more I see, the training footage of Romero, running through the park with his shirt off. I'm getting more and more worried about that one. So I would stay away from that one. Overeem Verdum, same thing. Made some parlays with Overeem. Think he should win. More skilled guy. He's got the momentum, but it's heavyweight for one, and both guys are chinny. We haven't seen it in a while from Overeem, but every time he eats a shot, it just looks like he's he starts shaking and starts quivering, and it's you can never be confident when Overeem's fighting, so would stay away from that one. And anything else? So Thiago Santos, Gerald Mearshart. I think Santos is going to win, but that fight with Spicely, something about that just tells me that submission guys are the heel of Santos. It might be something that's just going to plague him. And Mirashard is a skilled submission guy. I think he is going to go for some wild stuff here. Really try to force the action in terms of submission attempts. So I would stay away from that one. And these two newcomers for UFC 213, watched footage on them and actually made these picks on the video for the upcoming card, the Nelson Ponzinibbio fight, but that's not going to be out yet, I don't think, before UFC 213. So I might not have my picks out on video before those fights take place. So basically, Giles, Bocinovic, neither guy really impressed me. Bocinovic seems like the more dangerous fighter. You look at his resume; he's got a lot of submission finishes. And Giles, some of his fights were kind of sloppy, back and forth brawls, put in some bad spots on the ground. So I'm actually leaning Bocinovic as an upset pick, but just not really impressed with either guy. Two newcomers, I'm staying away from it. Stamen and Ware. Stamen definitely should be the favorite. I actually picked Ware in my video, but now I think I'm gonna take Stamen actually. Neither guy seems particularly dangerous, although Ware does have some finishes, but not over any noteworthy competition. Jared Papazian, I think, is the most recent guy he finished. But Stamen, he's got wrestling. Looks like a really clean striker on the feet, although not dangerous, and pretty low volume. And Ware seems to have this thing where early in the fight he doesn't do much and maybe gets down on the scorecards, gets outstruck, but then turns it on late. So that's why I was going to pick him, but now I'm going to, I think Stamen's the safer pick, so I'm going to go with him. But again, just not really impressed by either guy, so I'm just kind of staying away from that one. All right, so enough of that, but picks to make. Let's start with the TUF 25 finale. So I think Theodorou is an absolute steal here at -115, and he opened. I got him at -145. So obviously a much better pick now if you bet on him and he ends up winning. But I really don't understand the lines unless there's some inside information here. But Brad Tavares has always struggled with wrestlers, clinch fighters, and had a little run where he was looking really good, like that run where he fought Marquardt and Tim Boetsch, even though he got knocked out. But man, he just barely got by Cal Magalhaes, a very middling fighter in the division. And Theodorou, coming off of a win, not such a goes. That being the thing that he's struggled with his whole career. The guy was mounted by Bubba McDaniel in the third round. I just don't see why the odds are so close here. So I think Theodorou is your steal here. And I like Mark Diakis. Again, he's moved, I guess you would say he's moved up. I mean, it's a more favorable pick now as a favorite. I got him at -300, but I don't really see how Close gets it done. I mean, I know people are saying he's a wrestler and he's a clinch fighter, and Diakis struggled there against Saevsky, but Close, he couldn't do much to hurt Devin Powell in his debut, who's a really unathletic fighter, and we just saw Powell almost get finished and dropped on several occasions against Daryl Horcher, who didn't look all that great in that fight, I thought. And Close was just all over him that fight, just putting volume on him, driving him back all day, and it really didn't do much to hurt him as much as Horcher did. So if he's going to be engaging in that kind of brawl against Diakise, I just don't see him winning. So I like Diakise. So one of my locks for this card. And then Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoder. As you can see, big favorite. I got her at better odds than this. I think she was minus 200 when I locked her, or not 200, but in the 200s, like 275, I think, something like that. Maybe not, but yeah, I really like Hill. Yoder did not have any success on TUF. Looked okay against Justine Kish, but still kind of outclassed. Had some success and a few scrambles on the ground, but other than that, kind of just outclassed and does not look like a UFC caliber fighter to me. I mean, Angela Hill gave Jessica Andrade a fight. And, her losses have been against the best in the division, Tisha Torres, Rose Namajunas. And other than that, when she fought her only other UFC fight against Emily Kagan, she looked really good, athletic, a lot of volume. Yeah, so I really like Hill here. And then Teruto Ishihara. I don't see Maynard winning this at all. I know Ishihara lacks process and function, I guess you would say, but and losing to Artem Lobov, bad, but Maynard being chinny, if he got knocked out by Ross Pearson, a much younger, more mobile Ishihara, I think it's going to land, and that's going to be it for Maynard. The guy fought a year ago on the same card, the July card against Fernando Bruno. He got tagged in that fight with his angles, his one shot. I just don't see Maynard win at all. So Ishihara, big favorite here. And then Tisha Torres, minus 440. I mean, she should be a sizable favorite. Lima, scrappy, decent takedowns, serviceable striking, but Torres should just outclass her on the feet. She's fought the elite of the division, Rose Namajunas, well, only Rose Namajunas. But, even that fight, that was a pretty competitive fight. Namajunas didn't dominate her, and, Lima struggled to get much done against Esparza. So Torres, I think, a much higher level fighter, saw better competition and just too much skill on the feet. She's a good wrestler herself. I really don't see Lima winning this. But at these odds, honestly, I think you could leave this one out. And her being short notice, that's also something to consider, especially against someone as confident and as scrappy as Lima. But those are your picks there: Torres, Ishihara, Hill, and Theodorou, and Diakise. Now, what I would do if you don't want to I don't like parlaying, more than 3 fighters, no matter how confident you are. At least not as your main pick. The main pick. I think in the betting world, people like to bet the same amount on each pick they make, but for your main parlay, the parlay that you're going to bet the most on, I would not parlay more than 3 fighters. So what I would do, so Diakise, Hill, and Ishihara. I think those are your 3 there. And then if you want to mix and match, if you want to put less on a 5-fight parlay, you could throw in Torres, throw in Theodorou, and that's kind of what I did. I did my main parlay with Diakise, Hill, and Ishihara, and then I kind of mixed and matched with Theodorou and Torres. I did one with all 5. But yeah, I like those 3 there. And let's see what you get. The odds are not going to be that good now, but let's go. Let's do Bovada since that's what I use. So Theodorou, Ishihara, and sorry, not Theodorou. What happened here? All right, Hill, Ishihara, and Diakise. So it's plus 127. I mean, you double your money. So, you can't expect too high a payoff with a really heavy favorite parlay like that. But, that's good. You bet $10, you make $10 and change back. You bet $20, you make 20 back. So I think that's pretty good for such heavy favorites. So I think that's pretty much a lock again. It's betting. Bet at your own risk, but that's what I like. That's what I would do. And then let's just see this Theodorou. Man, I would really jump on that one. So now just by throwing Theodorou in, it's plus 309. So as I would make my main parlay with Hill, Ishihara, and Diakise, bet more on that one, and then I would bet a little less for a higher payoff on these 4. And then if you also want to throw Torres in there, and now it's plus 412. So if you just want to make a really small bet on that, money you could throw away. It's a really high payoff for what I feel are confident picks. So do that. Now, let's clear this. Now, UFC 213. These are extreme favorites now, but there's another 3-fight parlay that I think is I'm more confident in than the one on the TUF 25 finale card, and that's Blades. Now, minus 700, I know it's crazy, but those are the odds you're going to get for such a heavy favorite. I mean, basically, this is a guy who could be a future champion versus one of the worst heavyweights in the division. So he should be a favorite. I made a big bet on this parlay that I'm about to show you. And I'm not going to show you proof, but, take my word for it. If the pick goes south, then I'm going down with you guys because I put a heavy bet on these 3. So I'm sorry, got to select the parlay again. So you go Blades, Laprise, Camozzi. Camozzi to me is just not a UFC level fighter. Randy Brown, one of the greenest fighters in the division. You saw Bilal Muhammad, who I don't think is even that great a fighter. Good, but elite, no. And Randy Brown just got manhandled by him, and Camozzi was just at such a durability and athletic disadvantage. He looked really feeble. when when he faced Randy Brown, and when he connected with that knee, it was just over. Camozzi was no match, so I think Camozzi's just not a UFC level fighter. Laprise has had his slip ups against the more aggressive fighters. Trinaldo got him out of there. Brian Barberena almost got him out of there in the third round, but I think he's getting. He was always been technical. I think he's getting sharper with his striking. We saw knockout power against Guti. He can grapple as well. I think he's going to knock out Camozzi. So another really heavy favorite. And again, you got to get in on these odds from day one for these heavy favorites. Because heavy favorites like this, people are going to catch on. I got Blades at minus 600. Laprise is minus 600 now. When I locked him in, he was in the 300. So, and that's on me too. I have to get these videos out earlier, way before the lines post, because I don't wait to see the lines to know what bets I'm going to make. I know I make my bets. I have them all, made in my head before the lines post, because I know I bet on who I think, which fighters I think have the greatest chance to win. And then Rob Font, De Andrade, he's dangerous, but if he didn't finish Henry Briones, he was going to lose a decision, and that's an older fighter, way less athletic fighter, and a less dangerous fighter than Rob Font. Rob Font just jumps on you when he has you hurt. Extremely powerful and an insane athlete. Just a really hot, fast-rising prospect. Andrade, more of a journeyman. Font went the distance with John Lineker. I mean, how many guys can say they did that? So this is a really special guy to pay attention to. And Andrade, decent, but most people thought he lost to Cody Gibson. He fought, I think, Zubair Tukhugov to a split decision in his debut. And the win over Briones is his most impressive win. So I don't see Font losing. And again, when I locked him in, I think he was like 275, but or maybe not. I can't remember. But that's your parlay. And as you can see now, it's minus 134. So there's not that much payoff in it. When I locked it in, these exact three fighters, it was plus 103. So a way different line. I'll just tell you, I put $50 on it. If this parlay doesn't work out, then what's the point in betting, right? You got to go with who you think are the most confident picks, and I really don't see why any of these guys should lose. So I bet 50 to make 50, and I just feel for any combination of bets on this card, this is the one with the least amount of risk. So that's what I would go with. And then if you look at my CapperTech page, I did this parlay with like Whitaker and Overeem, and then I even did some parlays like Whitaker, Overeem, Travis Brown, threw Pettis in there. Those again, just kind of fun picks. Not ones I'd recommend. I wasn't thinking about being conservative. I was just picking some guys that I like to win, that I'm not super confident in, just to try to bet some money. But this is the money maker here. And again, odds are not nearly as favorable right now as when they came out, but I don't see how you could go wrong with this one right here. Now, to make things interesting, this is your main parlay, bigger than the Ishihara Diakise Hill parlay we went over at the start. So this is the one where you'd want to put the big bucks. Now, to make things interesting, and what's so nice about having these two cards like this with these big favorites, why not, instead of just I don't like single picks. I thought it's something that I would do, but I don't really see the point of it. I mean, if you're making single picks, I would bet like really small amounts. just to kind of, you bet on the guys you're confident in. You make just a little bit of money for what you risk. But if you're going to make a small single bet, why not just make a small parlay bet, the same amount in some picks that you're confident in? You'll get a higher payoff. So you got your main parlay here. You got your parlay on the TUF 25 finale card. And what I did, I just went for the Grand Slam. So I did these three. I threw in Torres. I did Ishihara, all of my confident picks on this card. I did Hill. I did the old 8-fight parlay. Now, of course, I would never. Did I throw in? That's 8, right? 1, 2, 3. That's 8. Yeah, I did all 8 guys. It's plus 780. When I did it, it was 864. Now, I would never, tell you to put a big bet on this. This is a fun bet. I put, I think, $10, and it's going to pay out almost 90. So, there's a lot of room for something to go wrong there with 8 fighters, definitely. So don't make this your big bet, but play around like that. You got fights you're confident in, and you just want to throw a little money. You're going to get a huge payoff for small risk. And I like all those guys to win, so hopefully that works out. But yeah, that's one to have fun with. And another one I did without going this big, I took out, so I think let's take out Theodoru, and so I just went with my 3 most confident. So I took out Torres, or I'm removing her now, but yeah, I went with my my 2 parlays for each card individually, put them together. So you get plus 284. Again, wouldn't go crazy with this one. But that's another one. I'm confident in each of those parlays by themselves. Why not put them together, put a little bit on it, and you have a pretty good payout. So that's basically what I did. That's how I feel you can really make some money with this card. Just bet on the heavy favorites. Jump on those lines early when the payoffs for those favorites are going to be highest. And yeah, I think that's a safe strategy with honestly for minus 600. That's payoff. I locked it in, for the Blades Laprice just doubling your money. So for such heavy favorites, so I think that's a good strategy. That's definitely what for. Make those bigger parlays when there's a bigger chance for things to go wrong. Then you just don't bet as much. You just bet a little bit on that. But that's going to be my strategy going forward. I think it's the best one for really making small gains on each event, but over time, I think it's going to be a profitable thing. You gotta identify those big favorites, put them together. Don't try to force a parlay that's not there. And keep things safe. Stay risk averse. Even if you feel like you're really confident in 4 guys, 5 guys, don't make that your main bet. Stick with the 3-5 parlay, like the Blades Laprice font thing, and hopefully the other ones pay off. So I can't unfortunately update my capper tech because they're not going to let me. What they say, what they call it, hedging my parlays, which I guess it is a form of a hedge, but I'm not going to fight with that site all night, so I'm going to try to get all of my all my picks posted on bet on MMA bet tips. If I can't do it there either, then you know, I'll just track them myself in an Excel spreadsheet. And yeah, hopefully this pays off. You know, I put more money across all of my parlays than you know I should have, than I would like. You know, I could definitely, if everything goes wrong, then you know this looks bad and I'm out maybe $100. But you know, I'm having some fun, but at the same time, you know, trying to be successful at this. And you know, if it doesn't go right here, then we just get back to you know, sticking to the lowest risk parlays going forward. And I already have my next one in mind for the Ponzinibbio Gunnar Nelson card. So we're just going to keep doing this thing, and you know, I am confident that it will be profitable over time. So hope you guys enjoy that. Bet responsibly, bet at your own risk, but I hope it's a profitable night for all you guys. And thank you for watching. I'll have my prediction videos for the Nelson Ponzinibbio card, I believe, in Scotland, as well as Fox 25. Got those already filmed, and we'll get those out soon. But thank you guys, and let me know what you think of my picks. If you think they're trash, you know, let me have it. So that's what I'm doing, just trying to be transparent, trying to be honest with you guys. You know, I've had, I think, you know, what I've been able to do on fantasy that that was successful. I think, you know, my ranking for 3-4 years in a row now, but you know, I want to take it to the next level, so that's why I'm doing this. But um, enough of me rambling. That's it. Take care, you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.